Awesome. We are back. This is episode 12, and we are going to mix it up a little bit. We are going to switch from doing AI UGC content, and we're going to switch back over to the classic Amazon. And today I've got Gabriel. Uh, I don't want to butcher your last name. How do you pronounce it one more time?
Yeah, caseros.
Caseros, that's right. Okay. Got Gabriel Caseros. He is a PPC expert. We put together a presentation to go over some great topics. But first of all, I'd like to start by understanding a little bit about you. So, can you tell me a little story about how you got into Amazon, e-commerce, things along your journey, and what got you, how you got to this point where we're at right now?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first things first, Eric, thank you so much for having me. It's an honor. And I got started back in 2015, I think. My girlfriend, at the time, now wife, thank God, was hired by somebody who was selling goods on Amazon. And whenever I heard that sentence, like sell stuff on Amazon or selling goods on Amazon, it clicked for me, and I tried to do it. I took my life savings and put 9 grand towards a random product, and of course, I lost all of my.
Let me ask you a question before you get too much into it. What was the random product that you put your life savings into?
Yes, so it was pancake molds actually. Uh,
Pancake molds?
Yeah, because OXO, which I believe nowadays is an Amazon brand, was doing really great at the time, and
Yeah.
with Jungle Scope data was surfacing like millions of dollars in sales. So I was like, this is it. Like I'm gonna be the the lord of pancake molds, and it didn't turn out great because this is not a Disney movie. So I had to lose all of my life savings just so that I could dip my toes on Amazon. Then one thing led to another. I sold my first business in 2020 before the pandemic hit.
Let me ask you a question about that. So we had the pancake mold adventure. What was the product that you had success with that you exited in 2020 with?
Yeah. So we were seeking to produce. I'm based in Guatemala, and a lot of our goods were produced locally or manufactured locally. And we found a good niche under any kind of stationery items. So anything from calendars to postcards, envelopes, that could have our own proprietary design. Allowed us to differentiate in the market, avoid Chinese competitors from copying our products, and at the same time have amazing margins. So it was a roller coaster because I was super young at the time, and it was my first time actually managing my own business. But it turned out amazingly well.
That's amazing. So go ahead, please continue with your story. You exited in 2020.
Yeah, basically exited in 2020. I was seeking for there, like, unfortunately at the time there wasn't as enough content out there to like go ahead and launch your next brand or go ahead and diversify in a Shopify, Walmart, etc. And I wanted to learn more. I had already acquired multiple courses at the time from different creators, and I wasn't just getting more information than I already knew. So I decided, a good segue to my career and personal development would be to join a company. I applied to this media company multiple times, probably more than three. And they probably just went, okay, all right, like let's just give this guy an opportunity. Let's see what he's up to, and let's see if he sticks around. I ended up doing around 5 years with this company, and it helped me shape up the advertising knowledge and the experience. Because I think you can understand the theory, but then it isn't until you have experienced multiple scenarios across different categories that you feel you got the hang of it on the advertising side.
Absolutely. I've done advertising. I'm not as much of an expert as you are, but I've done it for about 9 or 10 years. And I definitely know that there's a lot to learn, especially by doing different products in different categories, different experiences, different price points. All of these things increase your experience and make you a better PPC expert.
They absolutely do, and it's getting it, Amazon under their advertising model got have got a lot more expanded into multiple verticals now. DSP became one really big segment of that advertising portion, like uh, 2 3 years from now, and then search, which is commonly known as the regular way to run ads on their Amazon, is now getting more and more tools and more ways to segment how we target a keyword. So it is becoming a lot of fun, and it has become also a specialization on its own to be able to navigate, a lot of these updates and new features and how we can better and best execute against the performance of a brand.
Absolutely, absolutely. We put together a presentation. The topic of the presentation is campaign structure and audience targeting evolution. And so we'll go ahead and get started with that. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And there's a picture that I think that kind of embodies what you were explaining about your Amazon experience, which I related to myself as a seller. And so I thought it would be good fun to see, as well as a good laugh. And so this essentially is the life of an entrepreneur. So you start off, you're super excited. Oh, this is hard. It's going good. I messed up. Give up the good for the great. I think I'm going bankrupt. I'm good. I don't know why I get down on myself so much. I was wrong. I sucked. Wait a second. My life is great. And so the ups and downs of an entrepreneur not only can happen in a weekly, but all of these can happen in the same day.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I know that I know that after the you worked at that agency, now you are doing it on your own and having great success at that, and probably one of the best PPC experts that I've worked with, and definitely very knowledgeable.
And I appreciate the kind words, by the way. So we all understand that Amazon is all about serving an ad. Well, on that side, of course, serving an ad to people who have high intent, right? And then at the same time, that there is demand for the place where we're going to serve the ad from upon, right? So in other words, you go ahead and want to put your ad in front of someone who, one, has intent, and second, has a need for that product. And usually, we get really deep into keyword research, and there are a lot of software tools which will help you out, filter out by relevancy or by purchase. Like nowadays, Amazon provides the actual purchases happening at the keyword level. So that is super helpful to better identify and profile what are the keywords you could help, sustain your business the most. But nowadays, with the evolution of advertising within our ecosystem, we have seen that Amazon has begun to provide from within the same target or the same keywords, a way for you to go ahead and further segment that behavioral, psychographic, or even just the intent or interaction that persona or that audience has had with your product. So I'm going kind of deep, super deep, just into the intro, but basically, we now have, and this is important if you haven't touched your campaigns in a while, we now have a chance to further segment what was already segmented within your campaigns. So if you don't have a good foundation under the ad console, if you don't have a proper naming convention, if you don't have your match types or reporting bucketed in a way that it's useful and is set up to scale, you're basically not going to be able to take advantage of this strategy and this walkthrough. So that kind of that I know I'm stepping aside, or taking a step back here before we dive into the actual evolution of Amazon ads, but that is so important, because what we're going to go over is basically how to leverage a lot of that structure and a lot of that complete campaign architecture to further refine your advertising so that it is set up for success.
Awesome. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, organization is key to success, and especially when you're dealing with I don't know, 5, 10 products. Let's say they have variations. Let's say there's different strategies. Let's say there is whatever there may be. You definitely need naming conventions so that you can filter and you can look at the data in a way that makes sense. So everything you said makes perfect sense.
Beautiful. So we will start now that we have had that introduction around campaign architecture. And, if you haven't touched your campaigns in a while, this is probably a good time to, open up that console and go over what you got. If you're able to understand your campaigns without clicking on them and see what's inside the hood. Um, let's start with a concept of single keyword campaigns. So single keyword campaigns have been the go-to campaigns for pushing rank, particularly on their exact match type, for the past 3 to 4 years. This was a concept developed, so coming from the logic that by running a keyword by ad group by campaign, you'll have a lot more control on their bid adjustments, back in the day called placements. We can also recognize them as locations or places where your Amazon ads might just show up, right? And these locations or placements are top of search, rest of search, and product pages, right? So that was the traditional concept of single keyword campaigns by, adequating your campaign architecture to have just one keyword. You would be able to then influence the locations or placements where you wanted that keyword to show up, or where you wanted to actually serve an ad more, um, like in a more frequently way than other available placements. So these led a lot of people to create an architecture of single keyword campaigns where you go ahead and further push top of search in order to drive rank, particularly under exact match again. And this is just the way where we would be able to see better budget allocation, and it just makes a lot of sense from an evolution standpoint on what is the best way to segment the keywords that can potentially set you up for success. So the new feature that Amazon rolled out very recently is still with while using the same architecture, you can go ahead and segment your campaigns depending on the interaction people have had within the category or even with your own products. So what does that mean? Well, it means if I have a single keyword campaign for, let's say, I don't know, let's come up with a random keyword here, like overnight oats, right? Overnight oats, it's a pretty wide and open category. But what if I told you you can go ahead and further refine by the people who have purchased your products in the past, but perhaps they just don't remember your brand name, and they just happen to have thrown away the package of your items or the box, and they still would like to come back and purchase from you again, but they just don't remember your brand name, right? And I think if you're not Pepsi and you're not Yeti, like people might forget about your brand name. It's just what it is, right? So a good way to re-engage those people is to, if you have a single keyword campaign for overnight oats, there needs to be a clone of that same campaign, overnight oats, and then you go ahead and set up an audience targeting. And let me just show you what that looks like under the ad console for your reference. So you got 3 audiences available, and this has been rolled out to all advertising accounts up to this point of the year. You can go ahead and re-engage people who have purchased your brand's products, regardless of them seeking or looking for your brand on Amazon, searching for your brand on Amazon. That way, you can re-engage someone who perhaps didn't remember your brand name, but they're seeking to buy your products again through a category term, right? So the expansion of the campaign architecture is getting split in more pieces rather than less pieces. I know a lot of us would rather seek for a lot of more consolidation, but that's likely not going to happen in the advertising ecosystem. It's just going to get split more and more and more. And the other audience we got access to is clicked or added brand's product to cart. So this is going slightly higher up the funnel, where there is a consideration stage where there was a lot more intent. And what that means is just people have interacted with your brand. They didn't decide to purchase, but they were close to. But again, the way they search for your items or your keyword in the category, it continues to be overnight oats, because there's just not another way to describe it. There are a lot of these categories. There are a lot of these niches that sometimes have just a handful of keywords that you can navigate, and this is a good way to segment out the different places you can showcase your ad, or how aggressive you want to be against um, each one of these different audiences by further segmenting the campaign architecture. So keep in mind, right now, Amazon has dropped and pre-built 3 audiences for you. Purchase brand's products, which is the very bottom of the funnel. You're just basically running some kind of remarketing there. Then going higher up the funnel in high consideration stage, clicked or added brand's product to cart. This is people who have had the intent, they just haven't completed a purchase yet, but they're engaged and they have been engaged by your product in the past. And then new to brand shoppers are basically people who Amazon also calls these on their sponsored products, the highly likely to purchase audience, which is basically Amazon refining those customers for you, and just letting them know, hey, actually, you can go ahead and take advantage of this item, and who would be better than Amazon based on the shopper data they got on providing a structure core, on supporting and refining that audience for you. And then the question is, Gabe, can you go ahead and further create more? Yes, you will be at a certain point in the future. Right now, it's a little bit complex to go ahead and dive into that, but that will open up a conversation to further refine lifestyle segments, for instance, where you're just not doing overnight oats, and then uh, people who are high likely to purchase, but also, I don't know, CrossFit enthusiasts or morning routine enthusiast. I don't know, like that's something that will align even more with your brand story, and with your brand values. And at that point, I think it's gonna be game over for a lot of sellers who will be able to interact and speak through their brands a lot more fluently on their value offer.
That's amazing. When did this come out?
So it probably came out, it got partially rolled out to a group of accounts by probably mid-April, I think. And then Amazon finalized the rollout around mid-July. I think by the time before Prime Day, Amazon had already rolled this out all across the board.
Wow. What has been your experience so far with this new rollout?
So a rollout like this on the advertising side, again, has had us to further split our campaign architecture into more pieces so that we can effectively track the performance of each one of the different audiences available. So it can be challenging because there's not a way on their bulk files that you can operate this from yet. However, there is a way from bulk file or API to go ahead and further replicate your campaigns faster, and then go ahead and add the placement modifier, as long as you have already worked on the proper naming convention for better identifying each one of these different audiences. In my experience, something that I think it's a no-brainer is go ahead and leverage Amazon's new to brand, not new to brand, because this one that I show you under here, it's for sponsored brands audiences, but under sponsored products, there's one called high likely to purchase, which is Amazon's higher up the funnel audience. I think it's some sort of a blend between high intent like I provide Amazon my top keyword, my high intent keyword, the keyword where I want to rank the most, and then you connect to this high likely to purchase audience, which is a wide audience but selected by Amazon and refined by Amazon, where Amazon is going to show uh, their potential shoppers where we can convert the best. We have seen crazy CVR on that particular audience, like as high as 40, 30, 50%. Just because Amazon is refining that for us. So I think why would you wouldn't be opting in on Amazon's market intelligence to go ahead and seek those sales for you? I think it's a no-brainer to do it. And then purchase brands products or click that or add a brands product to cart. It's a good defense as well as a re-engagement strategy. This will depend on the weight of the brand, the traffic, the traffic, things like that, and the volume or history that the brand have had in the past. But if you're just getting started, I think the high likely to purchase is a no brainer, along with the others. But really, where you can work towards scalability, it's the high likely to purchase option. So like I said, and going back to the slides here, the evolution of these audience driven splits doesn't necessarily mean we're shifting away from single keyword campaign structure. It goes on top of that single keyword campaign structure, and you can go ahead and further replicate your single keyword campaigns. Now, the thing is, if you got 50 campaigns, now you gotta go ahead and further, you know, give birth to another uh, 4 groups of those in order for you to keep track of your current success. Another good way to put this is you will most likely want to recycle your current SKCs as high likely to purchase audience. So something we have got done too is we go ahead and recycle that existing performing campaign and add under a naming convention that is becoming and getting birthed into a what is it, a high likely to purchase audience. And there is a multiplier for a bid under that audience, so that we get more traffic funneled into that audience Amazon is selecting for us. And then for the other 2 types of audiences, we go ahead and just set, new individual campaigns for that same SKC that it's driving success. We do this so that we take advantage of the history driven from the existing campaign, while at the same time using it for the higher up the funnel available option we have under the ad console.
That's very interesting. Now, you said you take your existing SKC and you add the likely to purchase audience. Do you then again make a new or clone the campaign to do an additional SKC and so you have the audience segments as well as the ranking SKC as well?
So you can use the audience as a booster, like as a bit booster, just like top of searches. That doesn't necessarily mean all of your spend is going to be funneled into that audience, but rather there will be an enhancement of your bid put towards showcasing for that audience. So I'd rather leverage my campaign history for high likely to purchase and kind of recycle or reuse our existing campaign with history for that audience, because that's the audience that goes higher up the funnel. It we will continue to drive regular traffic, but at the same time have a bit multiplier for that particular audience, which can funnel in high intent conversions. And then we go ahead and set up two new campaigns for that same SKC under both purchase brands products, as a way to re-engage previous customers, and click their added product to cart, so that we have, this further re-engagement of people who have interacted with our brand in the past, or with that particular product in the past, with that particular item, and they're just being back funneled into our ecosystem.
That's interesting. It sounds like you're basically checking all the buckets essentially that they're offering us. I think that if I was to guess, I imagine that there's probably going to be a lot of event-driven sort of audiences that probably will roll out. This is probably just the first three, and at the end of the day, they have the best data. They know who is the most likely to purchase. So going against the grain would just seems like it would be not in your best interest. So it makes a lot of sense to go with which ones Amazon thinks is going to convert, because they, at the end of the day, have all the data.
Yeah, and in my perspective, and this is, I think, where um this is, I think, where we need to take action now, is the fact that Amazon first introduced these audiences, and more recently, like just a week ago, while the event of Amazon Accelerate took place, they rolled out Amazon Marketing Cloud for everybody, and now everybody's got data they didn't have before, which will later become the new normal, right? So right now, they first introduced this. My recommendation would be go ahead and test it immediately, because next thing you know, in a couple more months, you will be able to create your own audiences, and you won't be able to understand how to create your own audiences if you haven't interacted with any audiences before, or you haven't dipped your toes into AMC. This is a good way to begin to dip your toes into AMC before even over the AMC data, so that you understand, what are kind of the capabilities having access to AMC represents. And then from there, I think it can become a lot easier. If you would go rather straight into AMC right now, you'll stumble upon a lot of data that you won't necessarily be able to leverage or use, versus first doing this and then jumping into AMC to better understand what you're looking at.
Wow, that's 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 wild. I spend a lot of time on TikTok, and I'm blown away with how sophisticated Amazon is compared to other platforms. And every day it gets more sophisticated. They keep rolling out new things. It's always a game of and instead of or. And so your knowledge has to know this and more. And so yeah, I totally agree that getting started with something that's already been rolled out versus something that is probably being rolled out. What did they say at Accelerate? They said like when it was going to be, is it in beta? Is it like, when did they see it was going to be like open for use and actually have value?
Yeah. So basically, AMC at this point has been rolled out for every single advertising account. Um, like, yeah, pretty much it rolled out for every single advertising account. I might be, it might be mostly for or excluded to brand registry at consoles only. That's what I would assume, but they have opened everything, right? So one good reporting under AMC that it's super interesting to look into. It's time to conversion. Time to conversion is basically how long does it take a customer to complete a purchase once clicking under your ad or your product. And it's super useful information because you can go ahead and see if it takes them 30 minutes, a day, 2 days, 7 days, uh 2 hours, right? But then there is no additional like, what do you do with that information under the current under the current set of tools within the ad console? You can't do anything, right? Unless you would then migrate that information over to a different platform like DSP and increase frequency for a certain ad. Like, that is different than what you can do from within the ad console. However, if at some point in the future, and this is why this representation under the slides makes sense, we are able to segment audiences by, fitness enthusiasts or busy professionals, while continuing to target overnight oats. This is just different buyer personas, right? And if we can go ahead and further refine this audience by purchase within the last 30 days, or didn't purchase within the last 30 days, if we want to be more aggressive. That campaign that got started as a keyword just got leveraged into a programmatic style advertising that is going to, re-engage people from within that keyword. And like you said, it's just like one layer on top of the other, non-stop, until there's a full wrap of market intelligence around these campaigns. So this slide is a representation of what we believe the advertising is going to transition over for keyword targeting, for sponsored products, sponsored brands. Once we have the capability to go ahead and for any, because I know you can go ahead and with a kind of complex process, go ahead and develop audiences on your own, but it's going to become more easier and easier. Just like they have migrated the AMC data from SQL Access to regular media buyer access, where you can go ahead and pull the data yourself. They're going to do the same under the ad console for audience targeting, and it is going to become a more complex way to better support your advertising, with the idea of getting better returns and better efficiency.
Awesome. Awesome. I'm excited. I'm excited. What's the next one?
So the way we can wrap up this is, this is an evolution of Amazon advertising. Nothing's really changing. It's just getting better, right? And what I mean by getting better is we're getting access to more tools, more information, different ways we can target the same keyword, which should translate into higher intent. So that is higher conversion rate. I'm excited to see how this will represent under keyword rank, or a keyword, like how would this unfold under keyword tracker once put in practice. And at the same time, you got homework out of this podcast. You're gonna need to go ahead and further replicate your single keyword campaigns just to set them up for success, especially as we approach Prime Day, which has been announced already. Well, Prime Big Day Deals, which has been announced for the 8th and 9th of October. And then you also got Q4 coming in just another month.
That's interesting, because not only are you targeting by keyword, you're targeting by lifestyle, you're targeting by purchase behavior, and so it's a lot of interesting things, and I've got a feeling that it's going to continue to get more complex, and maybe simplified at the same time. But I would say that Amazon's advertising is probably far more sophisticated than most platforms, and so being an expert in this is definitely something that is needed if you have a brand. I definitely know there's just some very basic fundamentals, but typically, if you don't have the right person, I guarantee you will spend way too much money. You'll end up losing money, and as a brand, you should be focusing on growing your brand, and you should have somebody basically hitting those tacos goals, ACOS goals, and watching the keyword ranking, paying attention to the new things that are coming out. Because if you're sitting there going to every conference trying to figure out and stay up to date with advertising. You're not going to be thinking about what product you're going to launch next. How can I get it in new marketplaces? And so I'm a big believer that you're only as strong as your team. So yeah, I think this was very good data, Gabe. I'm excited to see how this affects everything and see how the ranking effect of the different buckets, as you put it. But yeah, it's very interesting. I really appreciate you going over all this. Very, very, very excited to see how this rolls out.
Yeah. And this segues into, what could become a part two of this, of like an actual case study of using the different audience segments, and how, we could further develop into developing our own audiences and what has turned out the best. Because there is a lot to unpack here. Like, this is just kind of an introduction of what's next, and what we're seeing doing the best lately. But that doesn't mean we're going to be collecting more data in the near future.
It's interesting. Honestly, audiences is very popular on pretty much all ad platforms, or most ad platforms. So it's actually almost like as if Amazon was a little bit late to the game with audiences. So it's interesting to see them rolling it out, and I'm excited to see what happens. I will say that this was probably over the head of some, and some people probably really liked it. But we should probably do a few videos on just some good basic concepts, like how to modify placement for exact matches, how to do some cool tips and tricks in advertising. But I definitely appreciate having you on the show, and this was exciting, and I look forward to subsequent episodes. So thank you for coming, Gabe.
It was a pleasure.
All right, thank you.